Me now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm actually sitting in a very closed enclosure with no noise, so that's the reason. If still, then I need to probably switch off my fan as well. Coming back now, I've always been addressing students. For the last 2 months, I've done more than like 30 plus sessions and a lot of initiatives from some establishments like ICT Academy. But everything was around students, and I never had an opportunity to interact with all placement officers. So I don't know how this conversation is going to be so long as you don't put me on the spot, but I'll definitely be able to give you more clarity as to what's happening in IT companies, what's happening right now, and how you can prepare. That's exactly the reason I even asked when Sharma sir reached out. I said that, sir, I cannot do a presentation or what we do for students. For students, we tell them what they need to prepare, but for placement heads in charge, we can't do the same way what we are doing it for students. I mean, they're all kids, and you people are the one who are preparing them. So for you, it has to be entirely different. That's exactly the reason I asked for what are the points that you expect me to cover. And I got a sorry, by mistake it got muted. So I got about a good 7 questions. So I've got a fair understanding of what exactly you're looking at. Let me cover it in a very structured way. So to begin with, point number one, is there something that you really need to worry and your students really need to worry? While there are so much of information, there are so much of we hearing from the market that there is a layoff. Ola has laid off 1,400 people. Swiggy is laying off. ABC is laying off. There are so many layoffs that is happening. It is prone to happen, sir. Nobody can control this. None of the CEO or the chairman of the organization can control this. But we'll have to probably just zoom in a little bit to understand who are these people who are being let go. These are people, they are not basically freshers. They are probably someone with about a little bit of experience to a middle level later, where in the current scenario, if the expectation is that a person whoever was doing A job is expected to move to a B job in the current scenario, if they are not able to move, if they are not able to adapt themselves to the current situation, those are the people and where we see that there is no point in keeping this resource because this business is not going to run for the next at least couple of months. So this will become an overhead for us. So it looks like by default it's going on mute. While I'm looking into it, just probably if you see that my audio isn't coming, immediately prompt me, please. Uh, so for colleges, you really need not worry about this is what I would tell you. The reason why Sharma sir, I just wanted to know constantly after every 30 seconds it's going on mute.
Sir, we will remove that one. I think someone, this one from the administrator, we are removing that one now. Dear participants, please mute everyone yourself so
Sir,
that it disturbs us. Sir.
I am managing. Don't worry. Now you can go ahead. It won't mute now.
Right. Thank you.
Perfect, sir. Thanks. Okay. So coming back now, while layoffs are happening, even in IT company, a little bit of people are being let go. All these things are happening. It will happen. From my own experience, I started my career when the similar situation happened back in 2007. But that was entirely a different scenario altogether. And what we are going through is an entirely different scenario. Back then, it was only IT companies which had a direct impact on the engineering admission as well. Right now, it is not just IT company, it is across the globe. But one thing that is happening is that IT company is not the worst affected. It is more of product company and all other. To begin with, it starts with the travel and tourism, followed by the food restaurant chain, and all these people where there is a direct a product that is being delivered in the market and people are not ready to consume it in the current scenario. Those are the people who are getting affected. And the least affected is the IT sector, but there is still some amount of cut that we have all gone through precisely because one thing that people need to understand is that today we go back and ask for discounts wherever we go. That's a basic human mentality that we have. When we get to know that the product rate is X, we tell them that why don't you give me at 10% discount or 15% discount. That's a human thing. But today what's happening is, in the current scenario, for an IT industry like us, our clients are asking us for discount. They're saying, I'm not going to take away the project from you. You will continue to do the project. The only thing is that instead of we paying you 100 rupees, I would be able to pay only 80 rupees because my IT funding has come down. Because their IT funding has come down, and we have to deliver the project. Tomorrow, if I go back and say that I cannot deliver the project, what will happen is someone else will go and grab the opportunity, because there are so many players in the market today. So someone else, to avoid that situation, we do a kind of arrangement with the client saying that, okay, you're asking me for a discount. I'm okay to give you a discount considering one scenario. Earlier, you had told me that for a 1 million US dollar project, you will have about 100-member team. And in that 100-member team, this is the mix of people, skill set, and all those things. While I'm not going to touch on the skill set, what I'm going to do is, instead of the experienced resource that you have been telling me in the earlier, I'm going to replace this with a low-cost resource, more from the freshers angle, so that my overhead, my cost will also come down from the IT company. And that is what is happening in the current scenario. In most of the organization, if you see, people who are being let go are all with minimal experience of at least 3 to 5 years, but not at the entry level. No company has let go of people at the entry level, and I don't think they will ever do it, because these are the people who can help the organization right now, because there is something called cost that needs to be controlled. Okay, so one thing that I would like to clarify is that you will see a change. There is going to be some amount of not a disturbance, but you will see a percentage change. The way that companies used to recruit earlier, if they were recruiting 100, they might probably look at recruiting 80 people, but recruitment will happen. But the main change that you will see is, one, how the recruitment is going to happen. That is a complete shift that is going to happen. On the other side, what is that they expect from an individual as a skill set? This is going to be a major game changer today. And in the current scenario, it is not like companies say that I will go to X college or Y college. It's end of the day, they can go to any college because they are going to go to that college virtually. Today, I am virtually present all across Andhra Pradesh, because all of you are there on virtually. I'm also there. We are all connected. So there is no question of location. Likewise, even recruiting, there will be no question of people from only this college or a college, depending on their number. But what is going to happen very evidently is on the skill set that they are going to come up with. Okay, so I'll go by question, like what I've already received. So for the first question that I received was, what type of new training and placement strategies TPO should adopt? So before even adopting to a new strategy, one thing that I really want, I would urge each and every placement head from each college is to invest in the digital environment. This is something that we have seen that in most of the colleges, they have an excellent infrastructure. Infrastructure in the sense, we have 25 interview rooms, we have 10 GD rooms, and we have ACs, all those things. No company is looking for those things. Companies are asking for, are you well connected to begin with? To get started with recruitment, are you well connected? Whichever part of the world you are in, if you have to talk to another person across the world, you need to stay connected, and that connection has to be really good in terms of undisturbed. Especially more so if the college is not in a metro city or inside the vicinity, where the connectivity will anyways be there in terms of virtual connectivity. So we really want each and every college to invest in ensuring that, okay, this year there are high chances. In fact, if I have to tell you in percentage wise, a minimum of 60 to 70%. The reason why I'm saying 60 to 70 is because there might be some companies which are in your own location itself, or there might be some panels who might be from your location. So they would say that, okay, I will go to the college and conduct the interview. Barring all these, a majority of people, close to about 60-70% of the people will connect virtually. So that means you need to have a real good solid digital environment in your campus. Do you have at least a good 10 to 15 number of laptops with good internet connectivity, undisturbed private internet connection for your recruitment alone? and not disturbed along with your computer center. That's very, very important. These are all basic things that we really want a college to do it. And the next thing is ensuring that the camera works. You have sufficient system, because there are mass companies, mass recruiting, which will happen. If it happens, uh, say for example, TCS. TCS used to hire 35,000 people. TCS definitely will not come back and say that I'm not going to recruit this year at all. They might recruit 25,000 people. I'm just giving a ballpark figure. So if they have to do it, and with the current scenario where they can't come to the campus, and they can't even have a crowd gathering in their office, that means they are going to connect virtually. So this digital environment is going to help you really well. So you need to ensure that you have invested in your digital setup. Getting up the same rooms, convert into a video interview room where the candidate can take it at his own convenience. He doesn't have a problem. The second thing within the digital environment is now it goes to the grassroots level. I have seen in so many colleges, there are candidates where they struggle to use a laptop or a desktop to type it out. They are not used to system much. I'm sure today that scenario has been taken care of. They don't have an option. They have to connect virtually to a classes. But how far are they doing sessions and responding over mails and doing some coding back at their residence, ensuring that they are used to a system working in system? We still have a section of people. In this current scenario, if that is not addressed, you will have a bigger problem, because they will not be in a position to even crack the exam. They might be really good in academic. They would have cracked 90 percentage. He's the topper of the college. But when it comes to a situation where he is asked to sit in front of a system and take care, we always hear, I have seen cases where they say that, sir, he is the first uh, son or the daughter in the family who is actually becoming an engineer. So he has not got used to it. They are from economically poor background, so they don't have this infrastructure. So when that question is there, while he might have that problem today, but the day when you bring him into the campus, you need to have a special focus for these people. If you're not able to invest in them, they will not be in a position to even crack the assessment. Leave aside going to interview, they'll not be in a position to crack the assessment. So it becomes very, very important that this digital environment experience, they need to get it right at the beginning, and they get used to it. You make them go through this session multiple times, so that when they are sitting in front of a assessment, or when they are taking up interview, it doesn't look fresh for them. They're already used to it. This is the first one. The second question that I had was, is there any difference in coming placement season compared to the previous one? Yes, absolutely. Like I said, the main difference and the only difference which is going to be very, very evident is about adopting to digital environment. Everything is going to happen virtually. Very, very handful of people are going to visit colleges. So that means, sorry, was there anything, I mean, was there a question, sir?
సార్ మార్తి బాబు గారు మీరు మ్యూట్ లో ఉన్నారు, ఏదో అడుగుతున్నారు మీరు సార్ని.
లేదు సార్, nothing. Please carry on, sir. Somebody, there was a noise.
No problem, sir.
Sorry.
So is there any difference? Yes, like I said, there's going to be a huge difference in terms of shifting from a face-to-face, in-person environment setup to a complete virtual. So the virtual starts with your pre-placement talk. I'm sure all of them would have got accustomed to this pre-placement talk, because they've all attended session, 100 people and monologue session, one person is doing the talk. So from pre-placement talk to a group discussion to a technical HR interview, assessment, everything is going to happen virtually. There is no doubt about it, and this is what the new strategy is going to be. The third question, the best ways to develop company and domain relevant skills. I'll take this at the last. Placement prediction for the current year and next year. If at all, if any of us could predict, we would become God. That's the fact. But one thing that I can tell you is that from my own experience and from how IT companies are going through, we always need freshers. No company can say that I can live, I can survive, I can run my organization without freshers. I mean, I'm talking about a mid-size, there are 10,000 or a 20,000 employee. if they have a 10 to 20,000 employee, they cannot say that I will not recruit at all. I've already started hearing from people from select colleges and from companies that we are thinking of doing this model. We want to do this. We want to do that. Even Virtusa, we have started since Vijay Marthi sir already mentioned about the COE model that we have. So with the COE colleges, we have already started an engagement. One part of engagement we have already completed in terms of interns. We have onboarded them into a system virtually 100 people across the country. Additionally, we are also talking to all the COE colleges wherein we want to do an entirely new process altogether, considering the current scenario. Now, let me tell you why I changed the complete game of hiring this year for my company with the colleges, unlike the usual going to a college recruiting in one full day. What we have noticed is that COE has definitely been a success for us. But if you ask me how much of a success, were you able to ensure that the question of industry ready resource, were you able to get it? We still have that problem today. No matter what we do, we still have that issue of making them industry ready. What we have been successful is that if I recruit a person and then if I onboard them directly, I have to put them through a 3-month training program. With the COE intervention, what I was able to do is reduce the training period by about 6 to 8 weeks. Close to about 1.5 to 2 month training we were able to negate, but still there was a good 1 to 1.5 month training that was required for all of them. So I was still not able to tell them that they are industry ready. They were only training ready, where we can say that we don't have to take them through the basics of training. They're already basics of training as everything is covered. We can directly get into the advanced version. Now, that is one side. So we were still not able to get the 100% industry ready. On top of it, when this lockdown started, we already started seeing that candidates and some of the colleges, everybody were like, sir, because of the lockdown, we are unable to deliver the session. Yeah, we understand, because there are colleges which are not digitally equipped in the beginning, so they had to stop every other thing. They could not do session, they could not do classes, everything got halted. That is one side. On the other side, when we reached out to the candidate, we also understood that candidates also started giving excuses. Sir, I don't know what to do. I'm worried. I don't know when my exams will happen. So we did a dipstick to understand, hey, why do you have to be worried? It will, when it has to happen, it will happen, and you'll be given enough notice. It is not going to be a surprise semester exam for you. Nothing is going to be a surprise. When everything gets over, automatically you will get a notification. There will be enough time that will be given to you. Why don't you start preparing? We still had some, I wouldn't say hesitation, but people were like, okay, I've got this time. Why don't I just enjoy, sit back and relax? So that is what made me. And on top of it, having understood one thing that is very clear is that because of this lockdown, there is going to be too much gap in terms of starting the next semester, which is, I mean, either let it be 3-1, 4-1 or 2-1 or even the first year. Now, when there is a delay in starting this, this will have an impact. And we have already seen in the past, colleges will come back and say that, sir, there is so much I need to cover because the university has given so much. On top of it, I don't think I'll be in a position to give additional training for the students. Now, that's probably you need to think through something for this year. So all these put together, I created a new platform for our COE colleges, stating that I will finish off my assessment now. I will select certain students. Typically, if I come to the college in August or September, since we will be the first recruiter in IT services in these COE colleges, we would have done the assessment in the morning and afternoon technical interview, evening HR interview. That morning assessment, I'm going to advance it by 2 months. I'll finish off my assessment and finalize who are the students who are cleared. Now, these are the only people for us, but I'm going to give you a good training program. Whatever that we expect you to complete after they get selected as an offer, now I'm going to make it mandate before they come for interview itself. Now, this way, I'm whatever that 6 weeks to 8 weeks training that they complete when they join us, that 6 to 8 weeks I'm mandating even before hiring. Now, this will give me leg room to play around with the additional 6 to 8 weeks that we used to deliver back at our office. Moving it back to the college once they are offered. There, what the biggest thing that will happen is, in the current scenario, whoever gets offered, it is a very clear statement that the candidate can do self-learning because he has to learn from his own residence. He will not be inside a classroom led by a teacher, while the faculty will still train him. It will be virtually, so that means he is a good self-learning candidate. If he can do the first 6 weeks, if he has got that focus, he can do whatever training that we give once we are offered. So this way, I'm confident that we can prepare industry-ready resource. So this is the model that we have created, which will help us not only maneuver through the tough times, so what the advantage that I get out of this model is, number one, I would have got the best resource. I would have already pre-trained the resource on topics that I require. On top of it, the candidates also have enough time to come and prepare. Nobody will come and give excuses saying that, sir, I never knew this. Had I known this, I would have studied. This was not covered. Now we are giving it everything open. And let me tell you, this is the model companies will start using. I've already heard that 1 or 2 companies have started talking to colleges on the same model. And the same model will be taken up by other companies as well. That is something that I can guarantee tell you. So when the companies do all these things, one thing that will happen is quality increases. When the quality increases, automatically the number of selection will also increase. So if you ask me predictions for the current year, you will have probably out of 10 companies which used to come to your college, maybe only 6 or 7 companies come. But these 7 companies have a potential to recruit more than what they would have probably recruited in your campus. If you can invest the next 2 to 3 months in preparing. What you need to prepare is something I'll just cover. Just give me a 20-second break, sir, if you don't mind. Just give me a 20-second break.
Please, sir, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Dear friends, you are in unmute mode. Please kindly mute yourself. Sir, yes, sir. Please mute yourself, sir, all of you. Please.
As you all know, Chennai is again, we are witnessing a very hot season, hottest. So we are beyond hottest right now, because of which it's not easy to survive with just one fan. So I'll have to keep another fan. I was sweating like anything. That's the reason. Apologies for it. So you will see a lot of companies recruiting. Probably the potential for them to recruit, no company would come back and say that I can only recruit 10 or 15. I'm sure in the past also companies would not have told you that, sir, I'm looking at recruiting about 10 people from your college. Even if they had told you, probably it is more from, okay, we are looking at around 10 to 15, but they never said that, okay, since I've recruited 15, I'll stop. They would be more than happy to. And today, in the current scenario, even if they tell you a number, if you can give them a quality product, they'll be more than happy to consume more than what they really wanted to take from you. Okay. Now, coming to the prediction part again. So, like I said, I can't give a commitment as to what the companies will be recruiting at. We have started, we will do our competition for sure. So that means an opportunity from all the colleges is there on the cards from Virtusa. And on top of it, HCL has already given a commitment that they are going to recruit close to about 15,000 people. Cognizant has mentioned that they are going to recruit. Hexaware has also started their engagement. So a lot of companies have started, even they've started right now. While some companies might take some time to come and discuss, but I somehow feel that this would still be a good season for the candidates. That is from the prediction. The next question, how to develop the best engagement plan to selected and yet to select students. Before even getting to the engagement of selected students, first thing is, what do we really need to do for these students? One thing is I request each and every one of you to look into ensuring that your student is good at least in Java. Good in the sense, I mean, he should be able to write code. He should have a solid profile. There are certain, I can give you some steps which would definitely be beneficial for him. Point number one, ensure that each and every student of your college has a GitHub profile. Step two, ensure that each of your student is getting onto any of the coding platform. Let it be HackerRank, let it be HackerEarth, let it be CodeChef, let it be any platform. Ask them to start coding. Now today what they have all done is, when you do at 30 days of code, they give you a badge. When they do a 60 days of code, they give you another badge. And as and when you keep doing codes, you have the repository of the codes that you have written. Ask them to go and upload it on their GitHub. The next thing, today there are so many certifications that are available free of cost. Okay. Now, whenever I have delivered session for multiple colleges, everybody asks me, sir, can I do these 10 certifications? Can I do these certifications? What if I do 20 certification? Will it add value? My only submission to them is, it is not about the number of certificates that you have done. It is all about even one certificate, how far you are able to gain knowledge and then come out of a solution which can be showcased to a possible employer or a recruiter. Today in HR field, I'm talking about, okay, I have done a course on HR and analytics. I have understood what analytics is all about. Once I have done it, I get the data of my own company, of my own employees, and then I try to analyze with it. And then I come back with a submission saying that this is the course that I have studied. This is what I have understood, and this is what I have done, and this is what the submission for the company that I have. Like that, if every other student can come up with it, that is one side. On the other side, there is something called do it yourself, DIY. Everybody knows. And today, very simple thing. Everybody is started doing baking at home, making pizzas at home. Any food that they used to enjoy, they're all doing at home. It is all called do it yourself. Why don't they go one step back and do something called doing project at home? Ask them to pick up even a small, if they're an electrical student, I'm sure they will have a lot of items back at their residence. Ask them to pick up those small items and then do a small project. When the recruiter asks, okay, what did you do during your lockdown period? Or is there something that you have done which you would like to showcase? I have come across until last year, or probably even until March, whenever I used to do interviews, people used to tell me that, sir, the project I have written, right? This is a project that we have done. It was a 5-member, they all talk theory. But in reality, we didn't have any proof to validate whatever they are claiming is true or not. So they give us a step-by-step approach, and then they tell us that this is what they have done. We question them, they answer. But have they really done this project? Is it available to see? Is all a big question mark. Today, they have the biggest plus point, a positive thing of showcasing whatever they have done. And recruiter will definitely look for, can you showcase the project that you have done? Since you're sitting at your home, you're taking up the interview, why don't you just share your screen? Whatever that you have typed, show it to me. But again, if a candidate says that, sir, I don't have it, it is in my friend's laptop, he will lose his opportunity. If he has to grab that opportunity, he has to do something back at his own residence and then show it to the colleges, show it to the recruiter. I'm sorry. So this is to ensure that he is preparing himself to get selected for a company. Second, what they need to do is the request to the college is that with all due respect for the faculties are doing a wonderful job. But let me tell you, from my we do year on year faculty development program, train the trainers. One thing that we have understood is that the faculties, what they are doing back at their college are more of theory. You study and then you go, you deliver the same lecture to the students in a way that they would understand. But have the faculties really got their hands on it? No. The answer is no. Because most of the faculties without industry experience, they've gone and they've started working in a college. Now, when they don't have hands-on, it becomes even more difficult for the students if they are expected to be hands-on before attending interview. Now, for this, if possible, I would request each of the college to invest in any of the training partner. Today, there are so many training partners available, and it is not very it is not costly as well. We are all talking about a mere hundreds or thousands of rupees, and it is a very good investment for his own career because he has not got hands-on. And today, company is looking for hands-on. Whatever they have done, how is that they're able to showcase the project that they have done, and what is their understanding of the technology. For that, it is required an amount of training, which I somehow feel the faculties might not be in a position to deliver. Again, I'm not saying that faculties cannot deliver, considering that the faculties are already overburdened with the curriculum that they're already running. If the college can probably take it up and work with today, there are so many partners available in the market. We are talking about Upgrad, we are talking about Face, we are talking about Talent Sprint, there is this Right Stroke Consulting. There are so many players that are available. If you can invest in those, it will fetch you good results. And this is what companies are also, because if you ask me, gone are the days when companies were able to invest in the training. Gone are the days company used to take people into their office, put them through a 3-month training program. Now, with all the new things that companies have seen, they will eventually start putting it back at the colleges, requesting the college. In fact, I heard that one such company have put it in the offer letter itself, stating that your offer is valid only if you go to this training institute, complete this training and come back. So companies will also start saying that you're expected to go to this training institute. But do we really have to get to that situation? We can cover it if colleges can pick it up even before the recruitment season starts. You have a good 3 months from now before the recruitment starts. And if you can invest this 3 months, it will be very beneficial. And then coming to engagement for the selected students, my request is, I have not seen this happening except for very limited colleges. I'm sure if, say for example, if Virtusa has recruited from ABC College, I'm sure this would not be the first time that Virtusa has recruited from ABC College. In the past, in the recent past and in the past, we would have definitely recruited. If you can catch hold of your alumni who's working in Virtusa and ask them to engage these offered students, while you can request the company to do it, companies would be more than happy to do it. They will come up with a plan. But then if you can ask your alumni to engage with your students, it will give them more a lively exposure of what life is all about in a company. So this will give a sense of belonging for all the students. I've not seen many colleges come back with this option. If any of you have already been doing it, excellent job. I would want you to continue doing it. If not, this is the right time. Please get your, and today we have seen that digitally we can easily. Gone are the days when we used to say that, sir, my alumni is working in Pune, my alumni is working in Delhi, so how can we need to sponsor all those things. Now today, in the digital environment, you don't have to spend anything, right? All you have to do is just connect them virtually. This will help you, this will help the students. And in fact, even before recruitment, I would request you to connect with your senior alumni and ask them to do a virtual interview workshop for them. There are many students who will be attending interviews for the first time. And there are chances that they will directly get into a virtual interview for the first time itself. But they got to be ready. They cannot go and sit in front of a recruiter and say that, this is my first interview, please bear with me, I'm not able to perform. Gone are the days when companies used to listen to all these statements. We used to listen to these statements. We were like, okay, that's fine, when we were doing a face-to-face. But today, when we are doing virtual environment, I can definitely say that every other student have already got exposed to attending session virtually. So that means he would have, even if he have not become a pro, he has got accustomed to and he has got adjusted to a virtual environment. So no excuses entertained. But to get rid of that fear of attending a virtual interview, if you can catch hold of your alumni, senior alumni, who have about 4 to 5 years experience, those are the people they would have already had an experience of even interviewing candidates. They their own company, they would have had an opportunity, or they would have been part of the interview committee in terms of sitting along with the panel. They would definitely have some sort of a hands-on. So they can deliver better and your students can gain out of it. This will be a very good engagement prior to the recruitment, which will help your students in getting hands-on when it comes to acing virtual interview. The next question I have is how to develop a placement network with less personal interaction. Uh, I'm sorry, I would need help here. So what exactly are you looking for, sir? I mean, developing a personal network is all about staying connected with people and ensuring that you're also up to date in terms of what's happening in the market, and less personal interaction. Are you referring to meeting people in person, or what exactly is this question, sir? I'm sorry, I'm not able to get it.
Yes, nothing like meeting a person in person.
In person.
However much the networking one can do over phone and through electronic means, but meeting a person will clear many a cobwebs that may be there between them. So in such a scenario, how is it we got to, you see, placement officer's role is a kind of all-in-one, and it also involves marketing.
True.
It also involves marketing. So how one does marketing in the absence of such one-to-one personal interactions? That's the question.
Okay, it's a very nice question. What I have seen in the recent past is that there are few new colleges also who requested me to deliver a session in the last 2 months. Now, when I did it, what is the key differentiator that I saw was when I was delivering a session in the earlier past, when I used to go to a college and deliver a guest lecture, there used to be a random 100, 200 students who were sitting because colleges used to, they want to somehow get the recruiter to the college and then see the infrastructure. They had other avenues to get the eyes or pulse of the recruiter, and this guest lecture need not be a big thing. So they were ensuring that the room was full. But today, what I felt, which really worked was, I don't want to name the college, but I did about 3 sessions for new colleges in North and East. And what they did was they handpicked students who are like very good students, 100 or 50 or 100 or 150. And they told me, sir, while I have a network of about 1,000, 2,000 students, but I feel if these 100 people are satisfied, they can also deliver the message to the larger audience. And you can also stay focused with these 100 people and you will get a very good interaction with them. And the way they started asking questions and the way that they were interacting with me, I really found that, hey, this college, we need to start networking a little more. We should start adding this college to our list. In the near future, we should also try and see if we can engage this college. So this is one thing that really worked out. I mean, someone who was able to capture me. So like that, what you can do is in the absence of meeting them, okay, it is not, I mean, I have also seen people who call me on my cell phone asking that, sir, season is going to start, so when are you going to start the recruitment? I very politely, I say that, thank you so much for calling. Please send a mail, I'll look into it and respond. And this is what will happen. So instead, if you want to capture a new company whom you have not interacted or you want to bring them, this session is a very good opportunity for you. If you can organize a session and more so identify those small 50 or 100 people who can be your brand ambassadors, who can be the brand ambassadors of the college. The way that they are going to interact with that individual is going to play a very, very important role. So this way your marketing question is completely taken care of. After that, you don't have to do anything. That company will come back and say that, sir, I really enjoyed conversing with those 50, 100 people. Can I at least interview those people? Or can I probably see the performance of the students? Is there a way that you can show me something like that? This is one good thing. Along with that session, what you can do is, you can also, I'm sure you will have a video of your college, or probably try and make a nice new video, because now that colleges can resume their administrative work. If you can create a nice video about the college, showcasing what are the capabilities of your college, don't show them the hostel facilities and the playgrounds and all those things. Instead, I'm sure all the colleges will have something called Startup Lab. You will have nice infrastructure. And I'm talking about digital infrastructure, right? So show them how digitally you're connected, how you're ensuring that your students can get accustomed to these digital environment. Prepare a 1-2 minute video. When the session is ending, tell the recruiter, because otherwise, if you share this video with them, I don't think they'll be watching it. Half of them might not see it. They just say that they received it. Thank you so much. It's nice. But do you really know whether they've seen it or not? No. But to make sure that they see it, you can play it at the time of the session itself. That will help you a lot. Now, the next question that I have is, what new areas students should focus to get offers from companies? It's very simple, sir. Today we are all looking at someone who can definitely code. If he has decided to get into an IT company, he should know coding. Starting from C to G of coding, he should know. If he's not able to code, that's it. He can't get into an IT company. He is expected to know. And the more the number of lines of codes that he is writing is what is going to help him. He will understand more. He also knows how to talk about the code quality. He's able to say, this is how I improvise. If he's able to come back and show that this is what I have done, how I have improved. When I started, I was never able to do this. But right now, after 2 months, I was able to get to this level. There are so many people. And today, we have YouTube, we have everything available for them to learn. If they can make use of all those learnings, put it in practice, and then when an opportunity comes their way to sit in front of a recruiter, showcase all these things. So this will definitely help them get offered. And one simple ask that I have for all the colleges is that you might have a specialized course on AI, ML, data science, or any other niche technology like blockchain or something. But today, if you ask me, are people going to recruit for these roles? My answer is probably the number will be 50% less than what they used to recruit. And on the other side, what I have seen is that every other college are starting a new course on, that I'm starting a new course on AML, BTech Computer Science specialized in AML, specialized in data science, specialized in machine learning. While it is all good, but what is happening is at the end of the year, we are only adding number of students. In a year, there would be like 100 jobs for a data science students, but we are creating close to about 50,000 people. 50,000 people for a 1,000 or a 2,000 jobs. Now, what is happening to the balance 48,000 people? They all have to go for a Java developer. Java developer is something that will never die. It will always be there. And we are talking about full stack developer. It takes about 6 months for someone to become a full stack developer. If he puts in his entire 6 months every day, 2 to 3 hours, he can become a full stack developer. And if we have a full stack developer, there is no question of there are doubts that whether he'll get placed or not. There can never be a situation, because once he becomes a full stack developer, he can either be taken by a company who's looking for full stack, or he can be taken by a company who's either looking for Angular, or who is looking for React, or who is looking for microservices in parts, in components. There are companies who needs people for a specific component. There are people who are looking for a Java. There are people who are looking for a full stack developer. So the minute this person is a full stack developer, he is ready for anything and everything. On top of it, today, everything is moving into a digital and everything is being hosted on cloud. Knowledge on cloud is going to help him big time. Now, again, I have seen people come back and say that, should I do a AWS certification, or should I do a Google certification, or should I do a Azure, or should I do a Kubernetes? The answer is you can do anything, because end of the day, it is all about hosting in cloud. Pick up one, try to get at least the first level of certification. This will help you. Cloud can never go back, because today, and more so when a lot of digital interruption is being produced, it is not going to be server led, it is all going to be cloud led. Whatever they do, it's going to be hosted on cloud. So if they can know what cloud is all about, and if they can get a fair understanding of how cloud works and how it is being hosted there, and what are the data security that they need to keep in mind while hosting something on cloud, it will help them big time when it comes to an interview standpoint. So with this, I believe I have covered whatever the questions that have already been listed down. Just to summarize, one thing, point number one, please don't worry about what's going to happen. Instead, I would request each of you to focus on what is that you can do, add on to your students. Try to do a lot of sessions for your students, but don't do so many sessions. Today, what's happening is, I see that every other college, every other day, morning, afternoon, evening, there are sessions. But will this session alone help them? No, I don't think this is going to help them, because this is not hands-on. Everything is going to be theory. They will only keep listening to it. And what is happening is, in the morning, they listen about blockchain. In the afternoon, they listen about AI. Evening, they listen about cloud computing. Every day, new thing. Their mind is only going to get clogged with so many things. Instead, focus on 2-3 things. Talk to your alumni. I'm sure you will have a very good alumni base who are good in the topics that I told you in terms of Angular, React, leave aside full stack developer, Angular, React, microservices, these kind of areas, they'll be strong. Ask them to do a 1-hour hands-on session, how they can share their screen. The candidates can also try it out on the other side, and then they get reviewed. See if you can probably talk to your alumni and ask them to adopt their juniors. Adopt in the sense, request your alumni to, if you have a good 50 very good alumni, ask each of the alumni to take up 10 students and tell them that this is the time when you can give back to your college. Can you groom these 10 people? If each alumni can groom 10 people, and if we have a good 50 good alumni who can help, I'm sure your biggest problem is taken care of. And the next thing, while your alumni are doing it, I sincerely request you to invest in digital environment, as well as invest in a tool who can help train your students, because only if they attend a virtual training will they get used to the coding, exposure into it, how to attend virtual sessions, how to be proactive, how to talk to people in a virtual environment. They'll get used to all these things. It is not about the money that you're going to spend. If you can just for once keep aside the money that you will spend, if you can invest right now, and if you can prove that, I'm sure if you invest, it will fetch a positive result for you. Once you get a positive result, this will have an impact in the longer run, because during tough times you are able to perform. If in tough time, if you can perform, company and possible students for the future, they will also know that, hey, this is the college I need to look at. You will see positive result in terms of admission, in terms of the ranking, in terms of so many things that is happening in your favor. So please do invest. Don't look at the money part right now. This is not the time to look at the money part. And at the same time, I'm sure even the partners, the tools that we were talking about, they're also giving heavy discounts these days. And they're also taking up as a challenge, because I have heard back from companies that, Kriti, I will ensure that when I'm doing it, I will come back and show you, I will give you 50, 100 students who are hardcore full stack developers. So we have seen commitment coming from them. So please look at those tools, and that will definitely help you. So with this, whatever the question that I've already had, I've covered it. I hope it would have given you some clarity. I'm more than happy to take questions from you and answer it.
Before the forum is open for members to ask questions, I would like to make an announcement that Krithivasan ji is going to talk tomorrow. He has a talk. He's going to deliver a talk on future of fresher hiring post-COVID through YouTube. That is at 11:30 tomorrow. Details are on his Facebook wall. If some of us are interested, can go through. Now the forum, I request President sir to lead and take the forum along in grabbing some knowledge from him through questions.
Krithivasan sir, that is an excellent presentation. You covered everything. Generally, people are soundless and speechless when they listen to a wonderful talk. You given a very wonderful talk, and absolutely it covered everything. But I want to ask one question relating to the user experience related skills, right? People are talking about experiential learning and experiential related things. You also mentioned in such a way that the projects. So now so many companies are offering online projects, all famous internship related companies. But how to select a best user experience related project, and how we can guide our students in this remote internship models? If you are able to give some light, if you are able to give some thoughts on it, we are very happy. Like remote internship with user cases, that is a simple one. Remote internships with user cases, how to go ahead with it?
Okay. So let me cover the remote internship first. Remote internship is all about the same candidate getting inducted into this organization virtually. He gets access and everything. He needs to deliver whatever he typically would have done when he has gone to the company. In our case, we had selected about 110 interns. All these 110 interns, we onboarded them into Virtusa, but without coming to office, they have a Virtusa mail ID. So we took them through training session as to, now that your system is connected to Virtusa network, what are the do's and don'ts that you need to do? And we gave them projects and we gave them self-learning links and told them, we expect you to go study yourself, prepare, and then come back and show us. Every week there will be a review. You will have to come back and show what you have done. Virtual internship will give them an exposure which in a typical environment he wouldn't have received. Because in a typical environment, what happens is, he has a person sitting to the left or the right. There is always a support system available. He keeps asking questions. So he wouldn't have attempted to prepare himself. He wouldn't have attempted to do a self-learning. But when it comes to a virtual environment, while the resources are available, resources are not available 24/7, not at his disposal. So he needs to ensure that he has reached out at the right time. He gets availability of the other person and then reaches out. But at the same time, he is expected to do a lot of self-learning, do research on his own. So virtual internship is a very good model that is also proving results for the organization. To get virtual internship, there are two things that you can do. One, reach out to your existing companies. Ask them, would you be interested, given that everything is happening virtually, would you be interested in considering at least 5 students from a college? Even if each company can consider 3 to 5 people, and if almost like 10 to 20 companies, if they can consider, you have a good size of 50, 60 people, good critical people who can get into virtual internship. Companies, 2 to 3 people, companies who don't have, who have not done internship right now at a larger scale, can definitely consume. In our case, we have already considered close to about 130 odd people, including B School, it is about 140 people. We have already done internship. But this virtual internship is going to be a very good thing for all of them. And selecting projects, I would say students should not be given an option of selecting projects. If a company is giving a project, if a company is saying that this is what we expect you to do, then he or she should take up that project. Because if a company is giving it, that means the company sees some benefit out of that project. The company sees some future out of that project. If a candidate is given an option, most of the candidates come back and say that even today I've had people come back, sir, you have put me into Java project, but I want to do data science. I tell him that even if I put you in data science, I cannot give you a full-time position if you do a wonderful job. I will still have to push you to a Java because I can't take so many data science people. I can only take 5 or 10 data science, but I can take 500 Java developer. Now you tell me, do you think working in data science will help you or working in Java? Then they accepted saying that, okay, sir, I'll do a Java project. So virtual internship and selecting of projects, leave it, ask it. If the companies are not able to take them as intern, still you can ask them for some problem statement. They can definitely work with the talent development team of that company, and they can give you a project. Even if at all, if I have to do it, probably I'd be in a position to give you 2 or 3. It's all about giving problem statement. I give you a problem statement. You can make your students do self-learning, ask them to do work completely. And then once they have done, you can show me the output. I can evaluate and give you a scorecard or a feedback. That is possible. We can do that. That's not a problem. And no company would deny it. In case if they don't have an internship, they can at least ensure that they can give you some problem statement. They can give you some simple projects which the students will have to do a self-learn and then work on that project and come back and deliver. This will help them give a feedback.
Yeah, sir, there is a question from Ramana Prasad Rao, sir. That
Yes,
is,
sir.
please suggest whether to train students on React or Angular.
Okay. To me, I have very little technical knowledge. Both React and Angular are important, but React, to my knowledge, Angular is part of UI front end, whereas React is part of the middle tier technology. But if someone has to be a full stack developer, both are important. But if they have, with whatever the information that I have, if a person has Angular knowledge, the chances of him, the future opportunities that he's going to have will be much larger. Whereas even React also has it, but Angular has a higher scope.
Yeah.
LHS.
Okay, Satyanarayana sir, you unmuted yourself. You have any question to sir? Care Satyanarayana sir?
Sir, I have one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have one.
Please go ahead. Sir.
So in general, students are concentrating on concepts like machine learning, blockchain technology. So artificial. So students are doing so many mini projects or certificate courses on different technologies. So will there be any use out of this? That's what I'm asking.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat again, sir?
No, he is asking most probably.
Sir, actually.
Studying AI, ML and all, students are taking up lot of projects and certifications towards that one side. Will they help them, students, in their career progression?
Exactly.
Absolutely, sir. I'm not saying it will not help them at all. But then the scope for AI, ML, Python, if you ask me, as compared to a full stack developer, is much lesser. Because we are using Python, AI, ML is all about new age technologies, niche technologies, and future. And today, the current scenario is that companies are suffering to run their business. And to run their business, they don't need the future of technology. They need the same technology that they've been using in the past to ensure that they're able to run. While AML is a wonderful thing, let them continue doing it. That is more towards from their aspiration. That is what I tell people when I do a session. I tell them that when you're doing something which is of new age technology, you will have to differentiate us as aspirational skill set. You have two tracks. One track is employability skill set. On the other side, it is aspirational skill set. Any companies that is recruiting, they will definitely recruit 10 to 20% who are from AML and data science and machine learning. But if we are looking at employability standpoint, then it is the other way, where we expect them to know complete coding, and coding, learning Python is much easier. And just because they have learned Python, it's not that they can learn Java. But if they have learned Java, they can easily learn any other language. So that's why we request everybody to go the other side and get themselves equipped with Java and try to become a full stack developer so that they are employable ready. On the other side, aspirational skill is also good. What will happen is, whenever there is an opportunity that knocks their door, they are prepared because that is their aspiration level. So they just need to differentiate between an employability and aspiration level.
Sir, there is a question from Mr. Justin Jaco. He is asking that regard through the neural hack, every year some offers has been released. Is there any chance to increase the number in this year, and how it will be go this year, neural hack, because of the COVID?
Okay, so neural hack, we have been doing competition for like 5 years now. The first 2 years we did something called Apptite app creation, where we released 24, 25 offers every year, and then started with neural hack. Neural hack season 1, we released 25 offers. Neural hack season 2, we released the 25 offers, which are basically people who came for the finals. Plus, we called the next list of about 100 people for interviews. And Neural hack season 3, which recently for the batch of 2020, we called top 100 for interviews itself. We had top 100 being called out. Close to about 80 people showed up. It went really well, and all 80 people were offered. batch of 2021, we will definitely do a competition. When, how, we really don't know. We are thinking through it with the current situation where there is a humongous cost pressure, possibility that we might not be in a position to host them inside our office if we have to do everything in a virtual environment. So we are coming up with a new a game plan altogether. Maybe sometime in July or August we will launch it and we'll keep you posted. But we will do a competition and it will be under the banner Neural Hack only. We will not change it.
Sir, good
There is
evening,
a there is a second part of his question, sir. Kindly guide us to fulfill some guidelines relating to Center of Excellence.
Okay. So just to throw a very high level light on what Center of Excellence is all about, typically companies will come, they interview the candidates, they select the candidates, and they are the offered people. We do the same process for the college. Only if the college get offered as a Center of Excellence will we visit the college to recruit students from the college. That is a simple process that we follow. So that means this year, if unfortunately for the batch of 2021, we had very good plans of expanding COE. We wanted to add at least a good 10 colleges, but given the current scenario, everything has been put on hold. I really don't know whether it will happen this year or not. So likely to be batch of 2022. But the process is, whenever we decide to open up for Center of Excellence, we will send out a notification to the colleges that we are partnered with. And we will let them know that we are looking out for new partner colleges who can deliver, who can take up these sessions for the students and prepare, get us a product who are ready for the industry. And how we evaluate them is a very simple methodology. College will have to send us a presentation on the technology they have chosen and why they have chosen. What is the differentiator they have? We will shortlist the colleges for a face-to-face interview. The college management people will come down for a face-to-face interaction with us, and we will cross-question. We will interview the college, and only if we are satisfied with that college, we establish something called a Center of Excellence. And that's one of the reason why, in fact, I requested Sarma sir. We never had a complete database of all the colleges in India. Now with these kind of knowing that there is a opportunity of association like this, I requested Sarma sir to share the list of college who are participating in this session. And I did mention that so whenever we do a session from our side, or whenever we do a competition or open up for COE, you will ensure that if I have the database, updated database with me, I'll be in a position to send out mails to all the people involved.
We will send immediately, sir. I requested Sarma sir to send all TPO contacts and also their mail IDs with the college details. But immediately after end of this session, we will send it to you with all the details of the AP TPOs and their colleges and their contact details. And some Sarvan Babu sir, you are having some question. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. This is Sarvan Babu from Madanapalli. Sir, my query is for this 2021 batch, will you restrict yourself with only the COE colleges, or since it is virtual, you also include students of other colleges, or it will be a public or open recruitment activity?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. We are not going to demotivate other colleges, but as always, even in the best of the time, we have given, since it is there is a lot of investment in terms of time, energy, preparing for COE colleges. We first start off with our COE colleges. We will see how many numbers we are able to recruit from COE college. One thing that we have always done is that we don't give commitment to any COE colleges. There is no commitment in terms of recruiting numbers. There is only commitment of recruiting from college, but we don't give them any commitment saying that I will recruit 50 people, 100 people. So first we will finish off the COE colleges. Once that is over, parallelly, we will have competition which is running. And once the competition is also over, if we see a gap in terms of I need 1,000 people this year, I've recruited only about 800 or 850, then we will do a statewide or a city-wide pool campus across the location. Too early for me to commit on, will I be able to recruit outside of COE colleges? But very high level answer, I'm trying to put up a new plan altogether of a new program altogether. If it goes through, then probably we might select additional colleges who will be referred to as a not a COE but a different terminology. We might handpick few candidates from each of the colleges, groom them, prepare them. It can be a CSR as well as when I have a requirement, I can consider them. This is a model that we are thinking through. It will take some more time for us to come up with a plan.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Anybody, colleagues, if you are having any questions, please unmute yourself and ask question directly to sir.
I think we have taken a lot of time, so I think manager 3 to 4 people can quickly ask there any questions are there.
It's not a question, but I want to know your perception, sir. Neither it is belonging to technical nor it is business. See, once we step out from the office to recruit someone from a college, we certainly look at the social aspects of the person, whether he can actually involve and what kind of social attitude one has. See, with this, one of the aspects this COVID has done is it is trying to push the people, making them introverts, very limited access to others in the classrooms. So their social skills are going to go low. We are going to foresee a mob of people who can't access, they are going to be intolerant. If someone criticizes, they cannot take it. So this kind of lower end social skills, how do you foresee down the line how our working environments are going to be?
Okay, so even before going to working environment, from interview standpoint itself, one thing that you will see is called, I'm sure all of you had heard about EQ and IQ. Now, gone are the days when IQ was playing an important role. It's going to be EQ. EQ answers most of your question in terms of how well they're able to think through, put themselves in a situation and then understand, analyze, and then able to come up with a situation-based answer. So EQ is going to play a very major role right now. If they don't have a good EQ, they can be intelligent, but if they don't have that emotional quotient, if they don't have that social skill, self-responsibility, self-perseverance, understanding of, okay, what I need to do, what is that if an industry expect me to do this, am I able to adapt to that situation? If I don't see all those things at interview stage itself, he is going to get washed away. So EQ is going to play a very important role. And the same thing applies in a working atmosphere as well. I've already covered in my opening statement itself that companies are letting go of people who are not able to adapt to the given situation. I have a person, 2 years he has been working on probably Python, or he has been working on some project. He has been working as a Pega developer, and all of a sudden that project has gone ramped down and he has come to bench. Now I expect this resource to pick up whatever project comes his way, and I tell him that there is a mainframe project or there is a 6-month support project. Why don't you get into it? If I hear constant statement from the resource that, sir, I studied Pega, I will not get into this. I'm okay to sit on bench for long. I don't even mind if I don't get paid, but I don't want to get into support. These are the people, they have a less, to an extent, they have a less EQ as well. And these people are not showing adaptability and flexibility to the situation. They will lose their jobs. And that is what is happening. So to sum up, EQ is going to play a very important role in everyone's life.
Well answered, sir. Really impressed.
Thank you, sir. And, rightly, you are expressed, sir, that one. Currently, in the market, that is what happened. Most of the senior-most people are losing their jobs because of not adapt to the skills as the time is demanding. And I think you well said about all of us to how to equip ourselves with all the required things to how to change ourselves. So now, President,
I'm sure you all can do wonderful jobs, sir. And today, this has actually given how I see the current situation is that for each of the college, they used to say that because of certain colleges' credibility, companies were only going to them, they were not coming to me. In the current scenario, if you can do something different for your students and showcase them separately, I'm sure no company would come back and say that, okay, they will there will be a time where they'll even forget the fact that what is the college that they come from, so long as the candidate has that skill set. So if you can start investing in building their skill set, nothing like it, sir. So that's why I said, whatever the investment that you're going to make at this point during these tough times is what is going to help you in the longer run.
Sir, my probably before others asking a question, my question is earlier people, the students, when they are joining, if anybody got a job in infrastructure services, the students are reluctant and they use it to college back and Nana Hangama, they use it to do it. Why should, sir, I want to be developing side, I don't want to be in the infrastructure services side, etc. But given in this particular situation, infrastructure services is going to be very crucial and it is a more income generated vertical for the service companies. So can you throw some light if infrastructure services are important, how we can tune our students' mindset and what type of certifications are very much useful or what sort of training programs are very, very useful for the students to grab the opportunities in infrastructure?
To talk about the specific training and the certification, unfortunately, I don't have an answer, Andy, sir, but I'll definitely get back to you. I'll make a note of it. I'll ensure that I get you the answer. But to ensure that students are adaptive to this, it is all about they understanding the present scenario. One side, there is a section of people who easily get influenced by what people say. I have seen many people go back and say, hey, you're from this college. As it is your college, nobody comes for recruitment. And this is a tough time, so you're going to find it difficult. The more they keep hearing these kind of negative comments, it is going to have an impact. So we need to sort of come up with some positive vibe that you can create for them. For that, the sessions that I spoke about, either with the alumni or with the company experts, it would really help them so that they stay motivated. On top of it, they need to understand, it will take some time. It is not that easy to make them understand that when something comes your way, you take it. But they will learn their lessons. I'm sure today, if they would have had any of their friends who would have lost their job. Today, everybody in their connection, there will be at least one person who would have lost their job or something they would have been some sort of an impact. Now with that, they would have got a sense of, okay, if I have to stay put, I need to do all these things. If they can get that sense of feeling, that itself is more than enough. I understand that as a placement officer, if you tell them, they might not listen to you because they might think that, sir, you're only trying to ensure that we get a job. Yes, but that's important, right? That is what you're all working for, to ensure that each one of your students are getting placed. And there is no job is a bad job. Honestly, no job is a bad job. If they're getting employed, that is why I said there is something called an aspiration skill set. There is something called employable skill set. Aspiration skill set, let them keep grooming themselves. But let them not think that this is what is going to help me. No, it is the employable skill set that is going to help them. If they can perform on those employable skill sets, they can very well navigate through, get into a company, first 2 years, listen to the company. And then if they have produced results in terms of their aspiration level, they would have made a mark in that particular profile and get into that desired job.
Thank you, sir. Excellent answer. Definitely the situation going to teach some lessons. With that lessons, definitely they'll change their mindset. And even as you suggested, some talks with alumni and some talks with industry experts definitely make their mindset in a nice way. And sir, you said one important thing. I'm very much impressed with that. And industry readiness, you discussed about industry readiness, center of excellences, so that you are reducing the industry readiness of the students. And it is reducing the time that the student can acquaint into the industry. Can you briefly throw some 2-3 things what we can do in we can do remote internships, mini projects, etc. In addition to that, what we can do innovatively to make our students industry ready? Okay. If we are in the given situation that we are not having center of excellence, we are not having much industry contact, but though the training and though without that particular support, that the small college training and placement officer wants to make his or her students industry ready. what they can do easily with 2-3 points. You can focus it. That will be useful for the TPOs who are not having that infrastructure facilities.
Networking support.
Okay. So one thing is that I have always seen that people talk about, sir, I did a project for my college, which is predominantly widely used project called LMS, Library Management System.
Yes.
But nobody was, like I said, nobody was able to come back and show us a working model. So instead of LMS, can they pick up multiple other small components and then build it? And then together they work as a team in a virtual environment. And then they come back and come out with a final conclusion. This is what we did. If they can prepare something of that sort, this would have helped them, become pro in terms of virtual environment, attending, talking to their own friends in a virtual environment, and also delivering results. They're able to showcase the product. Second, rather than LMS, ask them to pick up some project where they would have got exposure, or they would feel that I can do something more in this area. And because LMS has been very widely used, there are so many things that people can do today. That is one. Third, one recent thing that I saw, which was really nice, I really appreciated the interns, the 100 interns. There was a group of people, we had split them into mentors. Each mentor was given 20 people. In one group, once the call with the mentor happened, the guy started texting in the group saying that, hey, I'm not good in this, I'm not good in that. Now, within the group, while one person said, I don't know English, the other person said, I don't know French, but I know English. Like that, when everybody started saying, immediately in the group, they themselves said, guys, we already know everything, just that something that I don't know, you know, something you don't know, I know. Why don't we start doing some session within ourselves so that we are able to understand everything? And they started doing session within themselves, and they were able to groom themselves in that area. And it worked out really well. So if they can identify what are they good at and start giving session for their own friends itself, while you're going to reach out to alumni companies, all those things, if we can probably identify, definitely in every class, there will be at least 5 or 10 smart students who will be very good. If they can also take it up as a challenge that I am going to ensure that my class is going to be doing excellent job, this will help them big time.
Sir, I have one more suggestion, sir, because you completed 3 seasons of Neural Hack, because I participated in from our college 3 seasons. Our students participated. Can we make one group of Neural Hack Virtuosa students that they can maybe chat with the next batch students, or they can give some guidance to the next batch students? Suppose if now you said 25 plus 100 people are already there. So if this 150 students, if they are in one group, and if you are able to provide the mentorship of that students to the present batch students, it will give a very good overall picture to the current students about what is happening and what is this Neural Hack.
That I see exactly this is what he was meant by engaging our own alumni who are working for Virtuosa now.
Yes, sir. I agree with you, sir. But alumni, most probably only few colleges are having that alumni. But some colleges in this today's group, they may not have any alumni in Neural selected in Neural Hack, but they want to nurture their students for this Neural Hack, or maybe for any sort of coding competition. So whomsoever is there already through Neural Hack in Virtuosa, if you make that entire as a group, and if that people like what I am saying is like a interactive group, and if they're able to chat with anyone, if they're able to discuss with anyone from any college instead of their own college, that anyhow we will track it down. So our alumni, we can get it. But the colleges which are not having any alumni in the Neural Hack, I am asking this question on behalf of them actually.
Sir, it's an excellent point. Okay, I will definitely do, once we have a road plan of how we want to do Neural Hack and all those things, I will definitely help you with that, sir.
Like a student ambassador, we will also provide some student ambassadors. Then they can discuss with this group. We can make this chain down, percolate down to reach to the all students of Andhra Pradesh.
100%, sir. a very good idea. I will think through and come up with a different plan altogether.
Yeah.
But let me tell you the problem that I have of me going and asking my employees to do it. Okay. Whenever I have reached out to my employees in the past also, they come back with a very simple question. They all get influenced. So they ask me, Priti, if I do it for you, what is that I'm going to gain in return? Will you give me a good rating in my performance appraisal? Will I get some increment? Or will I get something extra? They're all thinking that, okay, fine, if I do this, will I get? When I tell them that you're actually helping your juniors, by doing it, you get whatever the faculty that they have done for you. This is a payback time for you.
Yeah.
If not for your faculties, you would not be standing here. Have you gone back to your college and spoken to your students? The answer is no. Why is that you have not spoken? Why don't you do it? They have their own excuses. While I will try and do it, but that's the reason I had put that point to you, stating that if you can reach out to alumni and then first probably attract them in simple words, all you can do is just give them a distinguished alumni award or some name to it, and then put it on social media, sir. They'll fall for you. I have seen this. The minute you give publicity for them in social media, they will come back to you. I have also tried it from my own company, and immediately their affection towards my company has increased.
Yeah.
And whenever I ask for favor, they do it. But instead of me doing it, we want the college to drive it, so that what will happen is you can also, in fact, I'm working on a model where I'm trying to collect, not the database, but I'm trying to understand from each of the colleges where in 2020, since I'm also managing lateral hiring up to 3 years of experience, one of the projects that I have taken up is that I want to reduce my cost incurred in hiring. And also at the same time, I wanted to understand which of the colleges are producing results even after 2 years. So what I've started doing is I started this exercise with COE. I told them, can you give me your 2017 and 18 database of people who are working in probably IT services company. Give me those database. And I will tell you what are the job openings that I have in my company. You can post it. You send it to your alumni network. So what will happen? Whoever is looking out for a job, out of 500 people who are working in IT services, even if 10 people are looking out for a job, they get to see this, they apply. And if we recruit, the student will start liking the college because they will understand that my college, they did not drop me just after I got an offer back in 2018. Even today, they're sending me some opportunities. I'm also trying to work out on a tool where I'm trying to connect all the college alumni within Virtusa network, so that whenever there is an opening in Virtusa, we post it and they can see it.
Good, sir. Good.
These are small things that we can do.